never getting through, yeah. Oh, I never said I hate you to someone so much before. I'm lightheaded when we talk and then you shut the door. Goddamn, like what are we still talking for, yeah.
But
Was it me you're looking for? Was I the one who fucked it up? Feel so bad for missing your call. I don't blame you for leaving me so suddenly. You leaving the world makes it hard to breathe. To never see you smile slowly killing me. Voicemails are the only thing I have. The sound of your voice takes me back. If I could bring you back to life, I'd give my own, but just to see you, not just to hear you. Voicemails are the only thing I have. The sound of your voice, it takes me back. If I could bring you back to life, I'd give my own, but just to see you, not just to hear you. Not just to hear you. Not just to hear you. What's the point of living life if voicemails are the only way I hear you? I wanna feel you. Just to hear you. Can I take back all the hurtful things I did and tell you things left unsaid? I wish I had one more chance to say that I love you, but I never will. Voicemails are the only thing I have. The sound of your voice takes me back. If I could bring you back to life, I'd give my own, but just to see you, not just to hear you. Voicemails are the only thing I have. The sound of your voice, it takes me back. If I could bring you back to life, I'd give my own, but just to see you, not just to hear you.
Woo! I think we're live. Can you hear me okay? I have to apologize for my microphone. I needed a stand for it due to its finickiness. Justin knows what I mean, and unfortunately it didn't arrive in time, so I'm having to use a really crappy webcam microphone. Oh, that's awesome. So I'll need to change that, but make do with what you get, I guess. So happy to see you all around, and thanks for tuning into my first ever Twitch stream. Not gonna lie, the nerves are killing me, so go easy on me. Happy holidays to everyone, and hope everyone's planning something nice for New Year's to celebrate the end of this year and a new year to come in. So recently I found I released an advisory yesterday on some Netcomm cloud mesh routers, and the goal of this sort of stream is that I want to go and step through the process that I took to go from having the device and pulling it apart, getting the local shell on it, pulling files off it, and eventually finding the crash and writing the exploit again. And there's a few other things that I want to do for after this. So I want to work together and try to see if we can get this emulating in a thing called EmuX, which is a ARM and MIPS now emulation framework by a great guy called Sawmill. He runs a bunch of training over at ring0.training, and if it wasn't for his training that I had recently just done, I probably would not have been able to write this exploit. So from going with no ARM experience to writing an ARM rock chain, I highly recommend checking out that training. So let's I guess sort of show what we were dealing with. So this is I'll just show it on the screen here. So this is like a brand new router that I ordered for the stream. So this has never been opened yet, and this is what some of the Australian ISPs now are recommending that you sign up to their services with. And for a bit of backstory, that I had a previous bug in an earlier model of one of these devices, and when this new one came out, my bugs kind of died, and I had to spend some time reverse engineering and figuring out what was going on, why it didn't work. And yeah, it turned out that some of the previous bugs that I was chaining together to get the code exec had been retired and removed from the later versions, which I was a bit saddened by. And so I wanted to buy this new one, already bought it, but I wanted to find a new bug so I could at least, I could at least have the bug die on my, on my watch. So so this has been reported and fixed in the latest firmware. So now it's, I can talk about it and try and help pass some of the knowledge over on what I was looking at, and see if we can do it again. So let me just quickly pull it out of here. Courtesy Aussie broadband sticker, nice. Okay, so this is the actual device itself. I'm gonna, at the risk of breaking audio while live, the music is super quiet. Is it? Alright, let's see if I can quickly figure out how to change that. Second. I've got to remember, is this the ratio or the threshold? Yeah, so I'll turn that up. Is that any better? Alright, I'll turn up a bit more. Yeah, how's that? Needs more. Alright. Let's go up to 23. Is that too loud now? Oh, I want to reduce. Okay. Alright, that's 4.1. Is that too loud? Is that, how's that level, Justin? Is that okay, or still too quiet? Oh wow, okay. Is that better? The fader. That's good. All right, don't touch it. Cool. Let me switch to my VM. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get this router turned on and make sure that we're running a vulnerable firmware, or the same firmware that I was testing with. And to kind of explain my setup, what I have is I have a VM, which is this Debian Linux VM, and I have a USB, actually I need to make sure I've done this. I have a USB Ethernet adapter pass through. So one of the pains when I was doing this last time on a host was that you had to keep connecting to the Wi-Fi, and then if you wanted to use the internet, I had to then keep changing networks. So if I tried to do that using the Wi-Fi, then I would obviously keep dropping off stream. So what we're going to do to get around that kind of issue is that I'm going to be using the Ethernet pass-through, so we can still talk over Ethernet, pull IPs and communicate to the device, and then but not have that same issue. So we won't get to see any Wi-Fi stuff, but that's okay, we don't need it. And so just turn this bad boy on. And plug it in. Cool. So we've just got it booting up now. And we'll change network adapters. Never mind. Hey Smash, how are you? How was your Christmas, mate? While that is booting up, it's good, man. Yeah, we had a really nice chill Christmas here. We had both families over, and we did like 2 briskets to hickory smoked. 2 briskets, 2 smoked chickens, and hickory smoked ham, which was like 15 kilos or something. So, or 10 kilos, I think. It was super stressful because I never tried cooking anything that that size. So, but it was really chill. So, might need more resources to this. The it's dying pretty hard. So I just wanted to show this Ring Zero training. So Sawmill does some free workshops on here as well. They've got some more training coming up, and I've noticed that Sawmill is doing I think 64-bit exploitation, which extends off his 32-bit stuff that he did. I need to like really give some more resources to this. Yeah, the IAT exploitation one. And then he also has this project called EmuX, which was previously known as ARMX. And yeah, so this is what I want to try to get to in the end, where we can get this device emulated and running inside of this this framework that he's built, where you can sort of select the router and spin it up and then practice Yeah, unfortunately this is not the ideal setup that I want to be using because my desktop has decided that it has no longer the will to live, and yeah, I'm now doing some like weird setup on my MacBook to try to do this, which thanks a lot Justin for your time last night working with me as I install a whole bunch of spyware on my laptop to make things work. Alright, see if this thing's booted up. 192.168.20.1. Yeah, and I haven't even got Burp open yet. So the first thing I want to do is, so we're going to change the password on this. They've got like a unique password on the bottom of the router, which is good to see people starting to do this and use admin. But it becomes a pain when you want to test these things because you don't remember the password. Oh, did anyone else just see the Vodafone thing flash up there? Oh, that's weird. So management. Yeah, is it access control? Need passwords. There we go. Cool. So I'm going to set this to be admin, nice and secure. Literally the opposite of what I just said. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Vodafone logo that popped up behind this Netcomm. Yeah, it must be under 8 characters. Okay, so let's have a look at the device info. So, right. Okay, so here we can see the software version here. So we're running version 19. Let's just update this to be the version I was using, which is 21. And the only reason I want to do this is because I just don't want to have any, I want it to be on the second latest version, and I also want it to be as, I've got to change network. I don't want it to be any surprises because I didn't account for something in the previous firmware version, so I just want to make sure it's the same version that you're using. So previously, when I first started looking into this, I was able to go and just download the firmware, and all the firmware was unencrypted. So what you could do is you just download the zip file and extract it and bin walk the update, and you could then get the file system out and all the files. But since then, they seem to have be providing them in encrypted formats now, and so it kind of takes that away. Yeah, that's what I want. No, that's not what I want. I think it's been pretty easy now because we got the shell on the last one, so the keys should be on the device. So we should be able to just take the keys off now and decrypt it, I think. Yeah. Because because what happens when someone that's 2 firmware versions behind with the old keys wants to update to the latest, everything breaks, right? Swap back over and just we'll flash the firmware. Alright, so just let. Oh, what? Do I have to, maybe I do need to unsecure it. Thank God that they do that, otherwise it just would have bricked the device. Although, so while that's flashing, so this is the one that I was using the last time, so we can change to test view. So this is what we're going to need to do, but while this is doing its thing, so I spent a lot of time trying to get a shell on this device, and we ended up having to go down like this hardware attack. And there's like 3, you'll see that there's like 3 ports here. It's a bit hard to see because I've already soldered onto them, but these are just basically debug ports here, like for connecting to UART. And so they've got UART enabled on here, and what we can do is we can use an adapter like a USB to serial adapter, and we can then plug this in and connect these into these the right prongs on the adapter, and we can get console access to it, where we can then read and write, or send input and see output. Sometimes they do disable the input, but having the output, which we'll see in here during the crash testing, is super useful because you can. There's a time when I was debugging it, all of the app, go up to the proper version, all of the app's stuff is basically only logging out to console out, and so as you'll see with the forking down into a new process to process all our requests, you're not seeing the crash happen because it's a separate process that just dies anyway, and the main parent process still runs, and so you never have this oracle or anything that's sort of indicating a crash is happening. And one of the things I used to swear by was that hardware attack should be your last method, but now I'm kind of unsure if I believe that now, given that I never would have found this bug if it wasn't for that. So let's start pulling some. So before we get into that, I want to show some of the things that I was looking for originally. So One of the first things I always do is a quick like port scan on the device, see what services are running on the device. Gotta love Debian. Never has anything that you want. Isn't that right, Justin? Okay, and then app install. Is that font okay, by the way, Justin? Is it too small or okay to read? Netcat. Awesome. Maybe it's because it is down. Oh, yeah, this is fine, dog. Okay, so you can see here that we've got, by default, we've got not a lot open. We've got like HTTP, HTTPS, SIP, a few other things, and then most of these other things are filtered, so we can enable these, and we will. Go to management. Just turn everything on. Yeah, sorry, yes, this is from the LAN, not from the WAN. Okay. Unless it's been properly misconfigured. Alright, so with some of the recent research with like GrandStream, the boys notice things like this usually will have some sort of a bug in the telnet interface. It's the wrong host. And so like when we telnet in here, we get like a kind of like this weird shell that's not, you know, what you would typically expect to see. We're in. And there's a couple of commands here that you can do to sort of administer the device, but nothing here sort of really kind of like sort of did anything helpful. So I spent a bit of time like trying to kind of fuzz through some of these commands and different things, trying to see if I could get a command injection log here. And that didn't really, that didn't help me in any way. And then other things I tried to do is, no. And then other things that I was trying to do, just to try to find some like low-hanging fruit, was looking for this time to live is crazy. So then, yeah, I started looking down this path of trying to find using the diagnostics. So most things that have ping commands and trace route, things like that, often shell out to the underlying operating system. And so I did a bunch of fuzzing on here as well, and didn't have any like, this is pretty, you know, vanilla ping output, but trying to get, like, you know, ID, there's really strict checks in place to prevent sort of command injection stuff happening. And one of the things I always like to do is on IoT devices, and because they usually run with root privileges, and that's so it can talk to all the hardware rather than having to mess around with permissions and different accounts, is to use reboot. And reboot's a nice easy way to see, or to get, like, if it's a blind command injection or something else is going out into another process, it's a good way to sort of see if there's a command injection there by the device just turning off and then back on. But nothing like that unfortunately worked in this case, and I spent a lot of time here, and so we're going to go down this hardware route again and get back onto the board to see if we can, I've got to go check the dog water, see if we can go and get back onto the board. So first step is I need a different view and screwdrivers, and probably don't power it. It's probably better too. I don't know how easy this is going to be to kind of show with this camera, but see, my wobbly thing doesn't like enough pressure on it to yeah, the reboot's one that's given me a lot of success, but it's not. Unfortunately, it's not one that you can really apply with pen testing, because that's a resume refresher if you go throwing reboots into company servers. So I've just got to figure out how I can get in here. anti-men's proof. How did I do this last time? It's not long enough. Need a extender.
You dropped it out?
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
Back.
Whoop. Oh, okay. I don't know what happened there. The routers are uniting against me. I might just take a quick break to go and top my water up and see if I can find a longer screwdriver, because I'm going to be here all day. So go get a beverage and whatnot, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Wanted some time, that's all I needed. You couldn't wait to unwind, that was never a secret. I thought I was still, but my body was leaving, barely breathing. I'm floating to the ceiling. I wish I could just rewind. You're just scared of being alone. You want, not how to achieve it. Left us torn, let us fall. You refuse it all. I know what you want, not how to achieve it. Left us torn, let us fall. You refuse it all. Of being alone. You're just scared of being alone.
city, now you're going down the road. Oh, did it ever get so deep? I'm wide awake, I never sleep. Don't want this night, yeah, make it last forever. Forever, make it last forever. No matter what, we're better together. We're better together. You know we're better together. Make it up, 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 make it up.
Okay, back. Just spent a little bit of time. Well, actually, kudos to Jess. We got the wrong one. We got the screws out, so they can go away. So the next step is pulling all this apart. So there's some sneaky extra screws here we're going to get rid of. Now they always I've always found that there's always a bunch of annoying clips. And so I use next step's breaking all the clips. That's my fallback. But I find that in the I think it's the iFixit kits. There's like the these little surgical looking things, and basically they work wonders when trying to like have a look at where the clips are, so you don't break stuff, but high stabbing risk. There's one clip. Thing with this is I've always found just be slow and patient. They generally should come up, but you do sometimes need a little bit of force to get that clip out. So this is now where it's sort of got the board, access to the board directly now, which is awesome. And if you have a look here, you can see like the UART ports right here. And so this is where we're gonna yeah, poor, I know, right? The awesome thing too is so normally when you're looking for UART, like serial connectors, they're generally like this distinctive kind of 4 pins in a row, like you see here. But normally you have to, normally you got to try to work out which one it is, and it's pretty straightforward and easy. You can use a multimeter and turn it on. One will be ground, one will be 5 volts. That's like just constant 5 volts. And then one of these, when you turn on, the voltage is going to be flickering all over the place. and that'll be it trying to like send data like to the output. Straightforward and easy. Let's make this. Computers aren't for everyone, Jimmy. And so you can use like the multimeter to work out what is the receive, and then the transmit will be the other one. In this case, if you look carefully, or hopefully stream will pick it up, but you'll see that they've already taken the liberty to pre-label these for us, so we don't need to really do that for us. So now, yeah, well, actually that is a thing. Like, you probably should still check. I don't know if I have a multimeter. Handy. So, looks like my soldering line's been warming up all along. Unintentional, that's good. Might move it a little bit away from my speaker. So then, so to get on here, we're going to need some solder, some sort of a soldering iron to dabble onto the ports, and then we're going to need some wire like such, and basically we're going to connect these onto these ports. Now, I'm not a professional solder. I don't even know what I'm doing. I just put the hot thing to the metal thing and it sticks. And it's quite warm, in Brisbane today, so I may be having to take a few breaks to get out. I haven't got air conditioning in my room yet, so summer, the fun time. Now you should, anytime you're doing soldering, I think you probably should be using like a, what temperature is it? Great question. It's the humidity that's the killer. Oh, it's only 27 today. It feels so much hotter. Alright, so now when you're connecting to UART, you don't want to connect the VCC. So you only want to connect the transmit, the receive, and the ground. If you put the VCC in, you're probably going to kill your USB thingy, the adapter. So just trying to put a light little bit of solder on these ports and then ground. Too much solder. Cool. So a little bit of solder there, so hopefully that's enough to be able to strip the wires. But yeah, you should always use a little soldering exhaust fan when working on this stuff, and I just hold my breath until I can't hold it anymore. So get some of these wires. Now I always try to color code mine in a way that makes sense to me. So black is always like my ground. Yeah, I should have set the not safe for work thing at the start, shouldn't I? The one thing I hate doing though is wire stripping. I always just cut it. There you go. And then, cool. So now if you don't have one of these, I highly recommend getting one of them. It makes soldering and just your life a lot easier. So this, you can basically get some wires to be held here so you can free up your hands to properly solder. Just want to put some solder on the tips here. Just to help with the connection. Good enough, I think. Then we try to, and then what we want to do is put it, basically, so this will be the ground, so we need to connect these. So that's ground, it's soldered on. Yep, hold your breath and you'll be fine. Bit of back wire on here. I think that's okay. Just got to make sure, like when you're doing it, you might be able to see, but you don't want it to like bridge the connection in any way. So I think that's okay. Just have to be gentle with it, I think. One more to go. Any questions so far with what I'm doing or why I'm doing? I'll have to figure out how to get rid of that later. Just throw money at the problem, buy a new desk. So I don't know how else you get solder out of that. Lessons learned probably should have been doing this on another map. Ground came out. That is terrible. Solder's hot too. Hey Henry, so what we're doing is we're currently recreating some research I did on one of these Netcomm routers, and we're just going through the process of getting onto the board itself so we can get access to the file system and get some files off it so we can analyze, find some vulnerabilities, and then write an exploit for it. So welcome. I might redo this ground altogether. It's way too much solder on it. Thanks, mate. I think we're all done. So I don't know how well these are going to hold, so you have to be quite gentle. So the next most important thing is turning it back on and making sure that the device still works. Because I guess one of the risks that you have when you're doing anything on the board itself is accidentally killing it. Okay, I think they do. Alright, so red light's good so far. We've got greens. Oh, thanks Justin. Didn't see that come through, whatever that was. Right, so if all this is working correctly, then we should be able to plug this, connect these up to this adapter, and then this should give us a serial connection. And so we should be able to then see it booting up and interrupting, or booting up and interact with it. So, one thing. Just plugging. I have this device, by the way, this USB hub, and I highly recommend getting one. It's basically each device has got its own like hard kill switch. So you can turn things off from power here, like your webcam and stuff, and then without having to keep unplugging. And it makes doing things like testing serial connections and stuff really easy. Because you can just like turn things on and off, and with something that's powered by USB, you don't have to unplug but plug it in, and away you go. So super cool, I love it. So I'm gonna connect this to a Linux. That's fine. Cool. So we got the serial USB detected. So the next steps are to basically recycle. So you can get these cables from JCar that have like your little male-female ends, and so all I've done is kind of stripped one end off to wrap twist around the things coming out, the wires coming off the board, and then we can plug these into the ground transmit and receives on the UART adapter. And this is why I try to like color code stuff as much as I can, so it's easier to follow. So let's just twist these together and hope that they hold. I'll switch back to the SQ for a sec. And this last one. And then we just need to hook these up. So ground to ground. So orange is transmit, so that should go into receive, and receive into transmit. Alrighty, now the moment of truth. So to get the serial connection, we're going to use a tool called Netcomm, and you pass it into TTY US upside down the stream. TTY USB 0. Now, thanking you. Alright, so I'll just redo that again. Cool. So yeah, so we're going to use a tool called Netcomm, and you just pass in -D and dev TTY USB 0. And how I knew it was that was because of the message when I plugged in the UART adapter. So you'll see down here that we've got this like serial interface plugged in, and it's attached to dev to TTY USB 0. So that's how I knew what the device is to use for this command. Alright, so then what we want to do is Control AZ. Now we need to configure, in here is where we'll configure some things. So what we want to do is we want to turn hardware flow control off by hitting F, and then E is where you will set your baud rate. So I know for just from testing, it defaults to 115200. So that's fine in this case. But if you're testing something and it's all coming out as gobbledygook or binary or just not what you're expecting, then this is where you go in and change that baud rate. And there are some scripts. I'm not connected. There are some scripts you can get that can. Oh yeah, I am on the internet. There's a Python script that I used to use. I think it's this one. I don't know if this still works because this was Python 2 back when I used it, but it runs like a loop and tries to guess what the baud rate is based off going through all the different ranges and asking you if you sort of seen there. Hey, Melee Tiny, nice to have you over here. Just doing some geeky stuff. So here's where you can specify the different baud rates, and then it'll like loop through and try to get a connection with the different one. And but the way I've been doing it normally is I use Arduino and use a serial thing in there, and it's good because well, maybe I can try it. I'll install this and then I'll try it if once we get the confirmed that the console is working. So we don't want to change any. Sorry. Yep. So hardware flow control we turn off, and that should be all we need. So hopefully if we reboot we see something and we don't, so I might have the transmit and receive pins around the wrong way, or it's a loose connection somewhere. But what we should start seeing is all the boot messages coming up. So hopefully the cam's better. Bluetooth. Okay, is the mic working still? Sweet. I think what it was is that sometimes when you focus into the VM, they've got by default Bluetooth sharing, and so I think I heard when it happened, and I'm pretty sure that my mic was like, nope, I'm time to go and play in the stream VM, not my host. So I've turned that off, and hopefully that shouldn't go anymore. So interestingly, let's make sure that I haven't killed the board by so, oh yeah, I need to plug in the Ethernet adapter again. Oops. So just going to troubleshoot what is going on. I see some lights happening, so pretty sure that everything's good still. Cool. So what have I done wrong here? Do I see anything coming on? That's weird. Maybe they did screw with me and like rearrange all the pins. Or maybe there's a bridge somewhere. So what I'm doing, sorry, I should have this over, is I'm just currently checking over the soldering on here and the connections to the UART adapter, and just making sure that things are working as it should be. But let's try. Let's just try using Arduino for a sec. So we're going to use this to help debug. Oh really? Please just work. Thank you, Justin. What would I do without you? Yes, very true, actually. Bought it now, okay. So we need to get it. Tools. Port dev TTY USB 0. Okay, let's, when in doubt, sudo it. Alright, I don't recommend doing that. It saves me having to log out and back in, so it needs to update with the new groups to get the access to the device, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so in here we can like scroll through all the different baud rates. So, which when it's booting, we can keep looking for any sort of output at all. So what I'm going to do is turn it off, then back on, and then scroll through some of these. See if maybe the baud rate's different. It's going to be anything like here. Generally you'll see like it'll be 9600 or 115200 are generally the two that you'll see. So let's just flip these around again, just see if there's anything else. Turn it off and back on. Alright, let's just try it with the other device. I mean, we're already at the same point as this one. Maybe I've bridged one of the ports. Actually, I think I may have. I'll laugh if that was it. Swap them back. Hey, there we go. All right. So what happened is if you have a look here, where the soldering is, where those pads are, it's a very small area to work with, and there was just the smallest sliver of solder that had connected the ground and transmit pins. So that's why it wasn't working, and just by chance saw it. So we're good. Cool. So now we have like this interactive shell. Now if we log in, admin and admin. Cool, and does this look familiar? So this was that really annoying telnet shell. So when we're logging into the stream, into the device, we're getting this restricted shell. And this here's a good example, right? So we can tell why, even if we don't have input access. So if they've cut the receive line on the UART, so we can't send commands to it, this is still really useful because we can watch the the console for errors. So we can see if something we've done has caused a crash, maybe if the errors are going out. Here we can see that it's trying to read a file called temp probe results. So this is still really useful to have, even if it's just a one-way serial connection. So cool. So now that we're talking to the device over UART, we're still no further because we have this same shell like when we telnet in from here. So it's like same thing. So let's reboot and what you can see here is when it's booting, there's this really small window where it says press any key to stop auto run. And so we've stopped it. Here we can see some information on the device itself as well. So we can see like it has this baud IP of 192.168.1.1. Default host file to run is VM Linux. Default host flash file. So this is where the kernel is. And then some like different partitions, I think, in the flash. And then can we scroll up? What else have we got? And all this info here is like really useful info. So here we can see that it's using a SPI NAND flash device of a Micron MT29. So we can then, like, if we were still struggling, what we could try to do is Google this chip to see where that chip is on the board, and like maybe we can, once it's booted up or something, we could dump the chip contents down to if we were still struggling. What else is useful? This one here is also useful, so we can tell it to boot from flash, from a host, or from TFTP, so we can provide it a TFTP server to boot from. And I think this is for like maybe doing firmware updates with not to use, like you can boot it up to pull down a firmware to run from. But interesting is when we do interrupt this boot sequence, we then get this presented with this like CFE prompt. And if we type just help. So if we type help, it gives us a bit more info than what the question mark is on a bunch of different commands that we can run before we boot up the OS. And so we can like do like a flash test. I think we could even probably dump things off the NAND maybe. But one of the interesting ones that I saw in here is the was it? BA. So we can set Linux kernel boot parameters. So what we could do is we can modify the boot parameter for kernel to say, hey, once you boot up, let the first program that you ever run be binsh. So if we type, I think help BA, so it gives us like an example of here how to use it. So what we want to do is we want to BA append, and then we want to go init equals binsh. And then for the longest time, this is where I got stuck for a while going, well, now what? Like how does it start up? And you actually have to run the R command, which is run program from flash, image, or host. And so for me, that this wasn't intuitive enough, to me anyway. When I was reading this, I thought that this is just going to go back to running the default, so like scrap all these parameters. But you actually have to hit this, you have to use R, so R will still boot it with the kernel parameters. Whereas I was looking for like another kind of thing in here, where it's like, oh, edit the kernel parameter, BA, boot kind of thing. So now if we type R, we then continue with the normal boot process. And we have our little shell. Hey! Okay, so now so now that we have the local shell or local file system access, so we're not even at the point of finding vulnerabilities yet. We're just trying to like get access to the files that have changed. And as a reminder, we're doing this because the firmware is now encrypted, so we can't just bin walk extract stuff. Now, one of the things that you'll notice though is that, well, we've got a local file system, like we've got file system access onto the router now through serial, but we have no IP address. So how do we get something off of here when to our like attacking machine that we're wanting to look at it on when Ethernet's down? And if you run PS, you'll also see that nothing started, and that's because we modified that kernel parameter to just say run binsh. And so there's nothing else here that like the kernel started. Now, if you go inside of Etsy, there is a file here which is called init tab. And in here, well, a lot of these files in here have all these startup scripts, but if you have a look in init tab, you'll see here that there's a bunch of different things that it runs. So it's forever respawning this console D. So console D is that shell that we get brought into when we telnet into it or log in normally. When the device shuts down, it runs this command. So binsh bcm bootloader launcher stop. And when it starts, it's running this binsh bcm boot launcher start. So what we want to do is we want to copy this, and what we want to do by running this is we want to bring up all the networking services as if it had booted normally. That way it gets an IP address and we have an IP address. So if we run that command and paste that in here, you'll see now this is going to start bringing up all the Wi-Fi stuff and start DHCP. All the good stuff that we need. So now you can see that we're reconnected over LAN. We've got our IP, so DHCP started on the device, so we can now ping this again. And we'll turn it on. So yeah, so we're pinging the router, which is good. But the advantage is that we still have our local shell. So everything's working normally now. We have local file system access, and we also get to see all the console output that happens from playing. We can also now see what processes are running under the hood. So we can see that it's doing an NS lookup to Cloud Mesh Casa Systems. So Casa Systems is the company that acquired Netcomm. So we know that for some reason it's doing this thing. There's a debug monitor that's looking for crash logs, so that could be interesting. What else is running in here? So BinSMD I think is the actual web server that's running, and that's, funnily enough, that's not the program that we want. So I think what SMD is doing is just sort of being a broker. I mean, it's probably a attack surface that you could look at, but in this case it's not. So, well, in this case I didn't look at it too much because I just noticed when it was doing stuff that this was spawning up a new process. And what we want is actually in cd into bin, there is a HTTP. Yeah, so there's this HTTPD binary. So now we need to get these files off, and fortunately for us, we have Netcat on the router. So we can use Netcat to create a connection and funnel the files down the network. So what we want to do is we'll create a NC20 directory. Create a folder with bins, and here we're going to set so we're going to set the output from what comes into Netcat on our host to redirect into HTTPD. And then what we want to do is we want to go Netcat to 192.168.20.2. So this is our local IP of our host on port 444, which is what was said here. And we're going to send it HTTPD. Cool. And so now we've got access to the binary. We can run strings on HTTPD. You can see all the stuff that's in here. You can see that's got all the OpenVPN CMD stuff. So we've got access to the web server locally. It's awesome. The other thing to do is if we open this into GDB. Alright, so now we can run it just to get an idea on like how tough this is going to be. Like this program, how many exploit mitigations and stuff have been added into it. We can run a thing called checkset. And you can see here that most of these are disabled, which is great for us. So we've got stack canaries disabled. Stack canaries are basically, they sit in between just before the safe return pointer on the stack. So if you get a buffer overflow or a stack-based buffer overflow and you try to override the safe return pointer, what happens is that before it does the return, it checks that stack cookie is still the same value, and so if it's changed, which it has, by going AAA, it will crash before it does the return. And so to beat sort of stack canaries, you generally sort of will need like a memory leak to kind of leak what the canary is before you sort of overflow it. Fortify, this is a really painful one. I don't really know how you kind of get around it in the traditional sense, but Fortify basically when you compile it with Fortify enabled, it'll wrap some checks around dangerous functions like stir copy and things like that, and it'll check if it's going to write out of bounds, and if it will, it terminates the process, and so it just dies. So this is like really good. NX is non-executable stack, so this is basically what prevents you from, with this enabled, you can't just go and overflow the buffer, save return pointer, and like have all your shellcode on the stack and jump to this shellcode. If that doesn't make sense, if you don't know too much about that, what I would recommend having a read is friend Justin, could you link your do stack buffer overflow good? This is one of the best things that you can have a read of if you don't understand buffer overflows. We'll be covering it in the stream, but yeah, if you need an intro, this is one of the best resources that I can recommend having a read over. PIE is for ASLR, so we can see that ASLR is disabled, which is great, and that just changes. I was just asking if you could shoot a link to your do stack buffer overflow good. So PIE will like randomize the addresses, which is kind of makes it hard to exploit, because if the addresses are changing, you're jumping to different places all over the shot. And then Railrow, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, is where it marks stops you from overriding the global offset table. Does it mark that as read only? Yeah, sweet. Yeah, so good. Yeah, it's one or the other. I can never remember either. I should remember because I just did GXPN and I covered that. Yeah, so we're in a good spot now. So we've got access to the router. We're able to now to the file system. We're able to get files off it. Are there any questions? I feel like it's probably is a good place to pause for next time, and where we can start pulling apart the binary and triggering some crashes. But are there any questions so far? I believe you could. One of the problems I think is yeah, I mean, if you didn't have to write, like you could, I'm pretty sure actually, so Sawmill covers also, another plug for Sawmill and Ring Zero, they do some great stuff, but one of his trainings, I'm pretty sure he actually covers something like that, where you use tar, so like C, actually, we can try that. But will we need to, how do we do this? Is it star? Yeah, but do we need a glob, or will it recursively go down? One way to find out, I guess. Let's find out. Looks like it worked. 123 meg, hell yeah. Let's enter. So before I make a mess of everything, how do I output? Dash D. Oh, dash D. Okay. FS. That works. Good electronics question. You could dump the chip. What does that actually mean? What do you get out of that? Is it some of the manufacturing chip? That's all of the chip. Oh yeah, good question. So this is just my understanding, but each of the chips, like the NAND chip, will have like a specific sort of way that you can talk to it, and so you can have like different readers and things that can communicate over the different pins, and so you can sort of send commands to get it to send stuff back. Like send commands to read, first 1,000 bytes or something, and you can use that to pull out what the contents on the like the NAND chip, or so there's other things like EEPROM readers. I need to change. So EE. Good call to Justin on the tiring over Netcat. So EEPROM. Yeah, I think so. I'm not too. That's still an area I'm sort of learning more in, but that's kind of my understanding. And then you can have things. So if it's an like a EEPROM, you can use like a. You can get like these little clamps, and then actually, one sec. Let me show you. So for example, if you can get like an EEPROM sort of chip off, you have like one of these where you can put the chip into here, and then you can connect it by USB, and some software will talk to the chip, and then the software will then retrieve all the data. There's also like another one that handles different sorts of chips, called a ASICS Fort programmer. So this one handles like a bunch of different things, and then you've got like your SALO logic analyzers, And so then the way that like so with this EEPROM reader, you can like you'll have like these little adapters. So you can have like this will plug in sort of here, and then and then you can push this sort of bit down, and you can like desolder or heat gun the chip off and put it in here, and then this will then figure out what the make and model of the chip is and send all the necessary requirements to, also commands to say, hey, I want to read first 1,000 bytes, the next 1,000 bytes, etc. off the chip, and then like to say desoldering, what you can do is you can get like these little clamps, and so similar sort of thing, they plug into like one of those connectors, and you put this and clamp it on top of the chip, and then it'll power up the appropriate pins and stuff. Yeah, no worries, man. It's a good question. Actually, there's another Ring Zero training thing coming up from what's he? I can't remember his Gervin, I think, or Given, which does a lot more of this sort of hardware stuff. Yeah, that's correct. So sometimes, like if, for example, they'd cut all the UART ports and things like that, then that might be the only option. Or there's other mitigations in there that's preventing, yeah, but if you can get on like over this, that's much better. And Sawmill does cover like a whole bunch of different techniques using TFTP to download and stuff. Yeah, ARM64 exploit library lab. So I've done the 32-bit one twice, and highly recommend it. 64-bit, apparently Sawmill saying is like a whole new level of bugs and different ways to exploit stuff. So that looks super interesting. And then, yeah, Guven, hardware attacks, and so he's cut in this. He covers like power glitching and all sorts of like different advanced sort of things, which, so yeah, so we sort of like creating hardware implants using UART, side channel glitching, fault injection attacks. Yeah, I think this would look really cool as well. But yeah. And there is, I'll see if I can find it, there's a link that they shared with a whole bunch of different hardware things. And I think someone mentioned that if you're going to buy hardware, like start getting into hardware, invest in a really good soldering iron. That's like the #1 tool. But I'll see if I can find it, and I'll tweet it out or something, or message you privately. But yeah, I think this is probably a good place to kind of stop for the day. It's been a couple of hours, and I think, yeah, now that we've got the file system off, I think, yeah, we can look at on the next stream. When next stream, I'm not sure yet. I'm probably yeah, I don't know. Maybe just after New Year, I think. Maybe second or third. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'll have a think and stuff. I'll probably do a second one. Well, I will do a second one to go through, because now this is when it gets more exciting. Yeah, exactly. That's why I got to allocate until the 3rd, because I got a nurse a 2-day hangover from New Year's. but yeah, so now that we've got access to the file system and the binaries, and this is kind of one of the harder, not hard, yeah, I think this is probably one of the hardest bits, the hurdles, was trying to get access to the binary to analyze it. So now that we have that, the next stream we can start pulling it apart in Ghidra, and then start getting some crashes, and yeah, and then eventually we'll start writing a rock chain to pop a shell. And then there's something new that I haven't done yet, and I want to figure out how to do it, is I want to then rewrite the rock chain to use mprotect. So if we can get using mprotect with beating ASLR, then we can try integrating Metasploit shellcode into it. So that would be kind of cool as well. But yeah, baby steps. And then the emulation stuff would be really awesome as well. Give back to Sawmill's amazing work with EmuX. So, yeah, but I'll tweet out once when I'm figured out when I'll do it again. So yeah, so in terms of uploads, I don't know yet if I'm going to upload anything to YouTube or not. I'm still figuring out how I feel about having my face on the internet doing this stuff. So yeah, I'll think about that and stuff down the track. But for now, like in the immediate, it won't be on YouTube. So, but I may revisit it. I just need to think about the pros and cons first. So, but yeah, apart from that, I hope everyone has a really awesome day. Thank you so much for joining in and watching my blunders, burning my fingertips, and you know, we eventually got the shell onto the device, and yeah, look forward to the next one. Yeah, enjoy your New Year's, and feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. If you have any questions or queries, concerns that have popped up since. Apart from that, stay safe, drink lots of water, and enjoy your rest of the day. Oh yeah, hit the follow button, subscribe, press the bell.